I'm impressed they give you a bus, not like a truck. It's like, get in the back. We'll open the doors somewhere. That's next year.
What's that?
Yeah. Ted's, we're not quite ready yet?
We're actually, we're rolling.
Okie dokie. We're rolling. I'll talk quietly until he gets the level set up. It's...
Buying the DVDs, everybody.
Okay. Yeah. So don't forget, Ted's selling the DVDs. He's working like crazy, running around. Yay, go Ted! We like Ted. The company name is Media Archives. Please support Ted and all the work he's doing, and the rest of the video crew that's been helping out. He lets us put stuff online, and we like to let him make money. So please, please buy his stuff. All right. So this is the closing plenary, and then we'll have the closing remarks. So last year, a funny thing happened. Out of the way of the improv. So we had a bunch of talks that were all about the same thing, the OLPC. And I'm going to sit down, and I apologize to everybody on this side of that thing, but I'm tired, and I started the weekend, and I'm like, I got nothing to do after I do the opening remarks on Friday. And then I realized, no, I have like 3 talks in a row. I have to do the Own the Con thing, and then I have to do this, and then I have to do the closing ceremonies. So I'm going to conserve my energy and sit down. But anyway, we had these 4 OLPC talks that were submitted, and we thought, man, these are all really interesting topics, but we don't want to have like an OLPC track. And it seems unfortunate to keep anybody out of this particular discussion because they all had really interesting ideas to share. So what we did is we went to them and said, hey, you know what? We kind of are about social and cultural responsibility, and we like to do just one big session on the OLPC. And it's a little presumptuous for the program committee to get together and force that upon the speakers, but the speakers were nice enough to go along with it. And I think it worked out really well to get everybody together, except for that speaker who's an asshat, which is the greatest invention of the internet, by the way, the word asshat. I'm glad it's entered our nomenclature. Applauding for asshat, yes, absolutely. Give it up for asshat. That's your new name, Sean. And as we talked about it this year, we liked the fact that we had this kind of closing plenary that seemed to have some kind of greater good initiative associated with it. And at the same time, Johnny, I'm going to paraphrase this kind of conversation that we had. Johnny's on the end.
Which is always a bad sign.
Yeah, it's always a bad sign. That means I can, when you say paraphrase, it's going to be morphed to make my argument for me rather than what reality really was at the time, because it makes a better story. But Johnny went overseas. He went to Uganda. Went to Uganda and did some mission work over there. And get it up for Johnny. And so Johnny's a shmoo.
Thanks for the applause for asshat and Uganda.
Yeah, we probably need to have the other type of applause. Legal. So Johnny comes back, and he's a shmoo, and so we have a shmoo mailing list, and he posts about his experiences, and he says something to the effect of, man, that was really eye-opening. That is like the greatest good is going over and helping these folks. And I remember thinking, I don't know, man, there's a lot of greater goods out there. And frankly, I view computer security as a greater good. And I see that I'm not really good at feeding starving children. I don't like to travel. I'm not that crafty with my hands. I built a bookshelf once with 2 left sides.
Speaking of asshat.
Speaking of asshat, yes, thank you. I am a bit of an asshat. Other cultures don't want me. And so, we got to discussing within the group, what about computer security is a greater societal benefit? And what are our responsibilities as a group to society as a whole with respect to computer security and hackerdom and all that kind of stuff. And this thread has kind of come up periodically over the last year, and I think people are getting more interested in it. So this year for the closing plenary, what we decided to do is get kind of a collection of people on stage that were representative of something, I'm not sure what yet, but to kind of talk through some issues regarding the social responsibility of the hacker scene and the security industry. Okay, and particularly with respect to kind of greater goods that we could accomplish, maybe should accomplish, maybe must accomplish, not really sure. We're going to hash through some of these issues. First, I want to introduce everybody. I'm Bruce Potter. I think I went through the entire Shmoocon without introducing myself, and I think that's pretty goddamn presumptuous, and I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm Bruce Potter. I'm going to moderate this, and I'm going to try to keep my own opinion to a minimum, which seems awfully unlikely. To my instant right is Simple. Simple, who are you?
I'm Simple Nomad.
It's a name, it's a resume, it's a way of life.
No, I'm not really pimping anything right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll just.
Simple's a
pimp
literal
later.
graybeard. I'm going to pay for that later in so many ways. On the far right is Johnny Long. Johnny, who are you?
I'm Johnny Long.
Oh, my
I'm
God!
I'll just take all their time.
He
Yeah, thank
decided
you.
he was going to moderate and sit down, so this is going to be a blast.
I'll get up if I need to beat you.
Okay, I'm Johnny Long, and I do pen testing. Most of you know me through my talks and books and stuff like that. The reason I'm here for the social good thing is, as Bruce talked about, the trip to Uganda inspired me to start a group called Hackers for Charity, and we seek to connect the skills in this community with charities that need those skills. The upside of that is that we try to get hackers and IT folks resumes and set them on a career path. So whether you care about good or not, it's good for our volunteers. So that's sort of why I'm here.
And for the record, Simple's here because he does bring a lot of perspective, not just because he's old, but...
He brings perspective because he is old.
All right, there you go. But he does actually have a lot of wise words to say, and I hope he says them and not other asshat words. To my left is Rick Dakan.
Hi, I'm Rick Dakan, and I'm a writer, and I've spent the last almost 2 years now just exploring the hacker scene both here in the U.S. and in Europe, and spending a lot of time talking to people. And so I'm here to give the sort of outsider perspective on things, sort of, because I'm not a technical person. I'm primarily a fiction writer working on some nonfiction products, and I'm just, here. I've been observing a lot, and so I'm here to add my observations.
Cool. And in the middle on my right is Hackjar.
Hi, so I'm Hackajar. I run the Summit fundraiser at DEF CON every year. This year's going to be the 4th year. It started off as just some crazy concept of how do we get money to the EFF in the most efficient way, so we figured out ways to exploit people and their needs and desires to squeeze every dollar out of them we could. And so...
Exploiting people, but not children, right? It's a difference.
Yeah, we all checked that they were all over the age of 18 and signed consent forms. So, and now, of course, we're also doing stuff for the Hacker Foundation as well. So it's EFF Hacker Foundation. My background is technical. If anybody went to old DEF CONs, I did credit card security hacking for 3 years straight, and then after that I moved on to do stuff for the National Nuclear Security Administration, and now I'm at some really large computer company that I can't name for legal purposes.
Wait, I want to get this straight. You did credit card hacking and then got into fundraising.
This is how hackers can help. Did you really give the same talk 3 years in a row? Is that the lifespan of a talk at DEF CON because they forget?
Yeah. Well, it started off microphone. It started off very, very specific, and then I noticed that people were like, that's too specific. So then I said, okay, the next year, let's do a real-time demo and I set up a credit card network wirelessly that you just break into, sniff it, figure out what it's doing, and start inserting your own credit card streams and giving yourself free money. That still didn't work. So then we went to back to basics the 3rd year and said, here's just what the credit card industry does and how they make money and how they take it from you.
Excellent. Well, I didn't know you could do that 3 years running. That's fantastic. I'm going to stop submitting new talks. Okay, so here's the structure, and I apologize for the intro. It's taking a little long, but I think it's important that you understand who we are so you can throw things appropriately. 15 minutes per topic. There's going to be about 4 topics, give or take. I reserve the right to kill any topic or make one go longer if it's getting interesting. Expect the speakers to disagree, and if they don't disagree, come up here and put us in full Nelsons and make us disagree. We are a bit of a social group up here, and I think we tend to think alike, but I hope that there is some disagreement, and I hope that you disagree with some of what's said, and feel free to speak up. Be warned, I can be an asshat, and I will stop conversations that are running long or not going anywhere in the interest of the greater good of the audience and you not getting killed. So please participate, but please use your head when you do. So the first topic, and this is what inspired me to have Rick on the panel, is the ever-popular discussion of what is a hacker, right? Like, you see this all the time, and it seems kind of pedantic. And we were at Freaknik this year in Tennessee. Go Freaknik! Woo! We were in Freaknik in Nashville, and Rick was giving a talk. I don't remember what it was about. Stuff. People were drinking. Al was there. Yeah. And he started to talk about what is a hacker, and I was kind of feeling ornery. And I'm like, who the hell cares? I'm screaming from the back. And then I was an asshat. And it turns out he actually had an interesting argument. And I think if we're going to talk about what we in the room, what our responsibilities are, we need to kind of at least have an idea of who we are and what kind of capabilities we have and what we can bring to the table. So do you want to kind of go over like your basic rationale of that thing?
So as an outsider, I've had, and I'm sure you've all had this experience of explaining to your friends and family, like, oh, I'm going to a hacker convention this weekend. Hackers have conventions. What does that mean? What do they do? You know, we've all had this experience. And I found myself sort of, the more I learned, the harder it was for me to define what a hacker was. What I ended up coming up with was the most general definition I could find, and it was, my goal was to get people to think about hackers not in just the traditional way they're portrayed in the US media of evil people. Is that most people, when they buy a new piece of technology or a new piece of software, they ask the question, what does it do? And hackers, or people with the hacker mentality, look at that same piece of technology or software and ask, what can I do with it? And for me, that's the most fascinating and important aspect of hackerdom that I've seen, is that this ability, this tenacity to view technology and look at it in other ways. But at the same time, the word is incredibly loaded, and to the point of being almost useless. You know, no one quite uses it right. And so, but at the same time, you can't get rid of it, and it's a powerful word. And so I guess I would suggest some strategies that maybe to try and sort of take that word back, and use that cachet, but manipulate how it's used in the media.
I agree with that. So next question. No, seriously. I mean, I've always tended to take the curious route when it comes to talking about what a hacker is, because it applies to me, and I don't think out of the box. But you know, it is a loaded word. But I've always thought of it as people who were able to, you know, tweak technology and make it do things that it was never designed to. And I know that sort of sounds like a cop-out, but it doesn't apply to necessarily modern technology. I mean, there were hackers in the 16th century. You know, they got lots of fame and fortune. They called them inventors, and they won awards. You know, the hackers of today are a slightly different, more varied sort of lot. And when you say to somebody you're going to a hacker conference and you try to explain to them that they're really just a bunch of curious inventors, you're fighting a losing battle, unfortunately. But that's how it always applied to me, so that's how I tend to use the term.
So what about the distinction between, I guess, as what we self-define? I mean, there's the public perception of hackers, and then there's kind of the internal perception of who we are. And there certainly is a subset of our community that views hackerdom as, I write exploits, I look at code, I beat the hell out of systems. It's not about the defense. It's not about the broader security community. It is all about vulnerability and exploit development and this low-level knowledge of how the systems work. And the rest of you people are all white hat asshats. I mean, there is a subculture about that.
Well, I'd like to just say that that subculture aside, I think it's very marginalized to one person, you. No, just kidding. Actually, on the awards point, we're working diligently to get, you know, hacker laureates eventually. But we have actually a joke internal memo that I got about 2 months ago, and it's like, what is a hacker? What is a security professional? If you're under the age of 25, you're a hacker. If you're over the age of 25, you're a security professional. So.
Is Simple Nomad going to disagree with that?
Oh, wait a minute. I would say, actually, I'd say the difference between, if you say the difference between black hat and white hat, and this is an old boss of mine used to say this, he says that the white hat has a mortgage. However, I mean, that being said, I mean, I still have friends on both sides of the fence, both black hat and white hat, that I still remain in regular contact with. All the black hats think I've sold out. all the white hats still think I'm a black hat because I maintain those associations. I don't even say gray hat. Right now, I just self-identify as hacker and hacker only. You know, it's our community. It was our word. You know, fuck them. You know, whoever's misusing it. And that's the thing. Like whenever, you know, when I'm interviewed by people in the press or whatever, and they say, "So you're a white hat?" and I say, "No, no." I said, "I'm a hacker. That's it." And you know, that's our term. And you know, I mean, yeah. If you saw my talk that I did yesterday, I referred to as kind of explorer, because that's kind of, I think, how we do things. But you know, for me, that whole thing, that black hat, white hat, gray hat, that's just divisions being made by someone who doesn't understand what we do, trying to put it into a framework that they themselves can then grasp.
Well, I
so
think
screw them.
I think it's sort of. I'm not as vehement against that as simple as. I mean, I see it as an icon. You know, if you have to boil down, you know, a 3-minute conversation about where you stand, I think white hat and black hat has application. You know, I think here I think it's fine. I will agree that the media makes it really stupid, and I definitely agree with the explorer thing. I mean, for me, whenever I was doing pen testing or illegal activities, which I've never done, he missed. That almost counts. I always thought of it as like caving. I mean, it sounds a little silly, but I thought of it as like, you know, if I had to put a mental picture around it, it was like caving. You know, it was like really exploring. It was this unknown territory that drew me in, and it just so happened that it looked an awful lot like a command shell. You know, I know I'm getting really geeky at this point, but if I had to draw a mental image, that's what it would be. So I don't necessarily disagree with the term white hat, black hat. I disagree with what the media has turned that into. And it's almost turned us against ourselves. You know, Bruce mentioned before the talk, you know, if we say this is a hacker conference and then we do a survey, how many people here have clearances? And you look at all the
Let's do that. How many people here have clearances?
How many people have clearances so high they can't raise their hands? Right, yeah, see? That's not fair at all.
I know. Wow, everybody else.
Dan pointed out, it's 2008. We've been having this conversation for 20 fucking years. We're going to have it for the next 20 fucking years. We've defined it already, but that doesn't mean we're ever going to be done. But it doesn't mean we're going to get anywhere with it right now.
So, okay.
I agree, Toby.
And Toby, to that point, the question becomes, getting to the social responsibility issue, do we represent a community that can feel a sense of social responsibility to actually get stuff done? And is the term hacker community the right community to levy that against? Is it the security community? You know, because there's probably a distinction. Again, that they start to get off into the defensive land and the productization stuff, and that starts to get away from, I think, what we would define as hackerdom, but those people still come to hacker conferences and may even self-identify as hackers. So what is a community that has a social responsibility to make things better?
This thing of ours.
This thing of ours, yes. We'll self-define.
We can just call it the H word.
And get a contract with Showtime.
Well, I just wanted to bring up like that. I just wanted to bring up that the word itself. We tried going with cracker. We didn't really talk about that yet too much right now. But like cracker was like this like you know, piece of bubble gum that you tried inflating and it just kind of popped before it really bursted.
I don't want to interrupt you, but cracker is a food. And that's sort of how I've always looked at it.
And if you're from the South, it's something else.
Yeah, exactly.
So like. But I mean, let's be real here. The hacker community. There you go. Well, let's be real here. The hacker community. You know, we all started getting older. We were all 12-year-olds to 18-year-olds that started getting older, and all of a sudden the industry expanded, and people said, "Hey, we'll pay you to do this, but we don't want to associate with hackers." So, I mean, bottom line is the money follows, you know, and so security professional on your resume pays the bills. Now, some companies will say, well, I want a hacker. I want to show off that we have some guy in a hole somewhere that does crazy stuff.
That's the DOD.
Right. But in reality, you know, like if you want to make $1.01 in this community, then you have to call yourself a security professional and just move on. And as far as hacker, for myself, and I'm going to be honest with you guys here, living in Silicon Valley, nothing's hotter than a pickup line of, "Hey, I'm a hacker," you know. I can root your box and not even use a Trojan, all right? So But that's the extent I use. That's the extent I use for self-described hacker, only to pick up on girls. And trust me, in the valley, it works. So.
All right, so
Obviously, you came with someone, didn't you?
we got to truck on to topic 2, so there I am holding the agenda.
Well, before you move, thanks to Dan and Toby, because I sort of agreed with this when Bruce brought it up. We could talk for hours and bore you to tears about the same discussion we've had for 20 years. But I also agree that we got to call ourselves something. So now we're the H word for this discussion.
Damn right.
It's a good word. It's a powerful word, and you should hold on to it. It's a great word, and as a writer, words are really useful when they carry that much cachet, and so I wouldn't give it up. I would just embrace it and own it, because you get much more benefit from it than you would if you tried anything else. So yeah, keep it, own it.
Love the hacker.
Love Rick. All right. Okay, second point. What positive activity has the hacker community had to date? Okay, this is over the last 20 years. What are the good things that come out of groups like this that have gotten together under the similar context for the last umpteen years, be it the old school phone freakers or all the hacker scenes that were around in the 90s, or this pseudo professional thing we have going on today? What positive things have occurred, and have the positive things outweighed the negative things that have come out of this scene? Scientology got really worried.
All right, yeah. Yeah, so let's put whitehouse.com at the top of that list. It's sort of like hacktivism and porn come together, and I think that's a powerful thing, I guess.
Responses to bunkies, how do you mean? Manufacturers aware of the threat. So
are the kids that didn't know how to use it before? I mean, I got to play devil's advocate, right? I mean, because we're going to run into this inevitably. There are people that now have defensive knowledge about, preventing bump attacks and what locks are prone to it, but you have a whole class of people that now know how to do it that didn't know how to do it before. So I just want to diffuse that whole thing, because that's going to be everything that we mention here, you can torque to being a bad thing.
Knowledge is power. It's whether you actually put it into motion.
Can we just go in the audience at this point?
I know. Take the cameras out in the audience, let people talk.
The one thing that got me going on this, and that's obviously fairly recent, it was the Sony rootkit. Here's Dan Kaminsky standing up right there. In November 2005, I mean, that was the event that had got me looking at the hacker community, and I think that's significant. And I think, for me, it's that kind of watchdog role that is the most positive thing that, maybe not the most, but one of the most positive things that the hacker community can contribute, and there's a lot of different ways that happens. But I think, you look at e-voting, you look at voting machines, and I know the hacker community in the Netherlands is big into that, and we've got a lot of people in this country who are big into that, and I think that's hugely important. And if you were to look at big media exposures of the word hacking, it was HBO's Hacking Democracy. I mean, I say I'm going to a HackerCon, and I've had dozens of people say, hey, did you see that Hacking Democracy thing on HBO? Is that the kind of thing you're talking about? So I think there's that aspect to it, and I think more of that would be better.
Mr. Kaminsky.
Good crypto for e-commerce. Didn't come by accident. Someone had to actually, Dan Bernstein had to go ahead, fight through the courts, build some remittances, go ahead, get PGP out there, so that we could actually have good cryptography on every browser on the planet. The reason you get to buy stuff on the internet and the reason you get to work from home over a VPN is because at the end of the day, hackers said, no, this crypto is too easy to break. If you do this, you're going to lose.
All right.
Well, I just want to say that we're talking about what are some positive things that come out, but I wanted to open it up to the reverse. What are some negative things? What's not working? Because we look at this conference today, and just be honest, every single talk is not going to get the press it probably deserves, and every single issue that gets raised here and at other conferences they go unheard. So how do you create a marketing machine to battle up against the public's media? Credit cards. That'll get you front pages. Google will get you front pages, you know. But obscure VoIP stuff that nobody really wants to talk about right now, that's important. How do you get that into the media, and how do you spin that into a positive thing and make the community more a reliable source of forcing change? That's my question I have.
Well, I can talk a little bit to that, again, because of press stuff, and I've worked, and there's probably some press here that I've actually worked with before, and that is if you're involved, if you're giving talks, or if you end up coming in contact with the press, I mean, follow up with these people, give them feedback on how accurate or inaccurate their articles are. If you see articles that are in like, you know, online or even print media, go ahead and or television, whatever, contact these people and let them know, and try to put it in plain terms that they can understand where they got it wrong and how potentially damaging it is, not only to the people like us that in most cases are providing free R&D, but also to say, look, you're providing potentially inaccurate information that is going to cause other people out there who don't know better to potentially put themselves in a risk situation when they think they're being protected.
And I want to add to that and say that, you know, reporters, especially in the technology beat and the science beat and stuff, are covering a lot of things. And so if you can be the nice guy and call your local paper and say, hey, I'm an expert on this. Let me tell you this thing that you maybe got a little wrong in your article, and next time you do something, give me a call. Put my name in your Rolodex. And that's how reporters do their business, and that's, I think, something that all of you can do. Anytime you see something, reach out. There's actually a book by the editors of Scientific American that just came out, and I can't remember the title, about media outreach for scientists, and I think almost anything in that would apply to hackers as well, and it might be something y'all might want to take a look at.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind, too, when you're doing this with reporters and stuff, you can even tell them, and they'll appreciate this very much so, tell them, say, and I do this all the time, and I mean, I know I get quoted a lot, and people call me a media whore, which they're probably right.
You call yourself that, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I do call myself
You can just drop the first name.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, no problem.
But nonetheless, you say, look, I'll talk to you on background, meaning that you're not going to be quoted in the article. Just say, I will help you. I mean, if you're going to take the time to do this free R&D and, you know, talk about this stuff at cons or share it with your friends on mailing lists or whatever, go ahead and take the time, contact these reporters and say, look, I don't even necessarily need to be quoted. Just if you've got a question where you don't understand some technological thing, you can use me as a resource to do background for you, and I can explain it to you and help perhaps put it in terms that you can understand.
That's good
All right,
advice.
so
There's a question in the back. Someone's been very...
I'm moderating! Sorry. There we go. All right.
I'm sorry. That's going in a video clip. So.
Yes.
I'd like to see a T-shirt of that, actually. I think that would be really good.
My God. All right, I'm trying to accomplish something here, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. We got kind of three things that we've touched on there, and I think these are three threads I've seen a couple of times. One, the hacker community serves an oversight and public awareness role that isn't otherwise served. If you look at how do you hold a vendor, hardware, software vendor, whatever, accountable for the security of their systems, right? Is there something in the contract with the end user license agreement that says this thing doesn't suck? No. Do people stop buying it if it doesn't suck? Generally not. Do we want the government regulating it not to suck? No. Like, government regulates technology. Technologists get pissed off. It doesn't matter what they what they were trying to do. They usually screw it up pretty badly. And so the hacker community ends up in this oversight role and holds vendors accountable. And then we also kind of help make the public aware. So the second thing is this public awareness and resource for the public at large and reporters and other people that are writing about this to help them understand what's really at the crux of these issues. You know, we serve as resources. You're surprised how many people in this room have talked to reporters about things or even get asked by, you know, their professors or whatever, hey, what's this security thing all about? Tell me more about it. And serving to educate people at large, because education is the way you solve security problems. And the third thing is really helping push the bar forward with improving technology. Okay, that was the thing that Dan, who's now I guess left, brought up. Was, you know, people here, you know, as Johnny points out, are inventors. You know, and we invent new ways to break stuff, and we invent new ways to make it secure. And we are doing free R&D for the product companies and the service companies of the world. You know, all the talks that we're giving here, there are companies that are going to take this information and they'll have some consultant in the field in a week using it and making more money off of what we're doing. So our free R&D is helping making things better in the future. So I see those as the 3 major points. Sir?
I just wanted to make an observation about the good versus bad.
Okay.
It's the nature of people that bad is sexy. And if you're in a environment where you draw some attention, so whether it's politics, religion, or hackerdom, the bad things are even sexier. And so the number of people who go into the field and do good doesn't get reported, but the pedophile priests do.
Right.
We have to realize that we're sort of, the cards are stacked against us anyway.
Right, absolutely. And that's a fantastic point. And is Beetle still here somewhere? No. Beetle and I used to give a number of wireless security talks together, and we'd always try to have this point-counterpoint. Like, he would do the attack stuff, the bad things, and I would do the defense stuff, the good things, and we do it in the same talk. So it was like, here's a vulnerability, here's a way to mitigate it. And he and I have very different skill sets, and that, you know, we worked very well together in that regard, but I think it was a good way for us to go and get the message across to people. So if there was a reporter in the room who wanted to report on the sexy bad thing, they would at least give us a sentence about the good thing that was also coming out of it. So
I just wanted to add on your point that that's why the word hacker is so powerful right now and why you can use it. Because you can be good and call yourself a hacker and still have the sex appeal aspect of it, or
Yeah, you can get the attention
Yeah,
of the reporter.
exactly.
That'll get your foot in the door to get their attention and say, I'm a hacker.
I'll in the back one more thing.
So, lots of activity, I think, pretty interesting recently, with Nicholson, Luke, and Lizzie about, tiger teams that got out there. Unfortunately, Court TV put them on October 25th.
Yeah.
It was an evangelism, if you will, of the different roles in a full-scope assessment. It was pretty much dropped due to the fact that they didn't have enough people to watch the show based on a rating. And they also made comments that the topics that were discussed were too complex for TV viewers to understand.
So hacking is still complex, so you can make cool movies about it and make it look sexy. So as Johnny's pointed out a number of times. Woo! Where was that aimed for? Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. You've been saying that for a while.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you for...
Well, I just wanted to point out that when Patriot Act came out, the media presented on it and nobody cared. Over the years, we've been getting more and more media about wiretapping and all of these limitations, and nobody cared. So that's what it seemed like. We're just not getting credit for a lot of what we're doing. We now have a presidential candidate who thinks that it's a major platform that we need to have government visibility, that we need to have more transparency in our government. And that's something that we, as a community, have affected this change. Even though we're not, it's not related to one incident, it's not related to one issue, it's something that has been affected over the last 10 years. And I think we should applaud ourselves, even if no one else recognizes that.
No, fair enough. And so there certainly is a role of the hacker community regarding, I mean, we're always, as a society, battling technology versus civil liberties. As we get new technologies, we have a hard time understanding how they affect our civil liberties and how to regulate them and what's good and what's bad. And I think that's a fantastic point, that we have kind of a government oversight role in that regard, if you will, as much as we have a corporate oversight role. Which you guys...
There's also kind of another kind of side effect from our community. I mean, in a way, we are somewhat marginalized from the rest of society, and we do it on purpose. And the way we're marginalized is we're always going out there and looking for the latest, greatest, newest thing. We've all got to have the latest, greatest toys. We've got to learn how to break them. And we tend to kind of live on that fringe edge outside. And as a result, you do have a different perspective on the rest of society. A lot of us here, not only we're not surprised by the quick passage of USA Patriot, we are not surprised by the extent of which it began to infringe upon our civil liberties. And so as things start coming out later on, like, oh, there's a secret room and, the AT&T has da-da-da-da, and, they're coming to me and I'm saying, well, yeah, I told you so, I told you so. Why weren't you listening when I gave that, talk back then, or when we had that conversation at that bar? I mean, those are the kinds of things. Living on that edge does give us somewhat of a different perspective on everything else. We can use that to our advantage. We really can.
And I don't want to, I know you're trying to get to the next slide, but...
I'm moderating.
Right, yeah.
Okay. You can go.
I'm going to see how many times I can get him to say it so I've got more footage. I can just play it back and forth. The 30-second what, has the community done? 8 months ago, the hacker community paid $5,000 collectively to send me to Uganda to set up a computer network to get kids sponsored so that they could have an education, medical care, whole 9 yards. That's the first thing. Since August, since DEF CON, 150 volunteers have come forward and signed up for the Hackers for Charity mailing list, volunteering their time to actually fix charities' websites that have problems, writing code for them, building websites, checking the security of that code. This is the hacker community doing this stuff. And now, as a result of that, the hacker community has also spurned some corporate sponsors to come forward to donate laptops. We got spawned, not spurned, spawned.
Not spurned.
Let's ask the writer.
It's definitely not spurned.
Spawned. Spawned sounds like something coming out like through the.
Let's go with inspired.
They gave us some laptop.
Inspired. Ensconced. This could just become this could be the showdown of the writers. Anybody got a shmoo-ball, please? All right, corporate donors came together, gave us 20 laptops for our cause, which are going to set up computer classrooms in Uganda and Kenya, teach kids how to use computers and adults. I know these are smaller scale things, but I want to encourage us to think smaller. Hacker Foundation has done similar things, setting up 501c3 tax shelters for things like Metasploit and a lot of other things that are going on. So these are big topics. We're talking about influencing politics and things like that. You also have to think small. Specifically, there are things you can do as individuals.
Thanks for the segue there, Johnny.
Yes.
Okay, so real quick, topic 3. What are the greater goods that are security related? Which we'll get to topic 4, which is directly what Johnny was saying, which is we're trying to find tangible things that we can do right now when you leave here, what actual differences that you can make. Now, this is where Johnny and I think have a little bit of a cross purposes. Johnny's been able to, I'll invent a word, harangue. Is that okay? Harangue? Harangue.
Harangue is not
a word, okay. Wrangle.
I'd say go with it. It's a neologism.
He's been able to ensconce hackers to to go do kind of greater good things that are, could be done, arguably by a wide number of people, right? It is something that, we're helping feed people, we're helping educate people. I contend, frankly, that there are computer security issues, hard problems that need to be solved that currently are not being solved. We are still, if anybody's ever seen my talk on the dirty secrets of the security industry, I contend that there are problems that are 40 years old that we still need to tackle, and we're not tackling because there's this big security product vendor space in front of us that's kind of getting in the way. And we have a lot of security operators who have real tactical needs in the field, and that's what we're focused on. But trusted computing, don't kill me. Trusted computing has a lot of potential, and if you read the academic literature for the last 40 years, we keep coming back to some of the same issues. The problem is it's not tangible to developers. It's very hard for a developer to pick up a TPM-enabled laptop and turn it into some enterprise security model that has all the security properties that you would like to have in order to have trust go throughout your enterprise and do all this other stuff. There's no middleware that allows people to leverage the TPM and the trusted computing system to do the right thing. So someone's got to develop that, in my humble opinion. This is one of those things that, if developed, could potentially really help revolutionize where we stand today. I think there are hard security problems, and we can, I don't want to sit here and bore you with my laundry list, but there are hard security problems that, that was out of my periphery, that was pretty good, that the community might also be responsible for getting engaged in and helping solve. And I certainly respect the work that Johnny's doing, with his stuff, and some of these other folks are doing, but in my mind, that's still dealing with the issues of developing worlds and helping them kind of work their way up Maslow's pyramid, if you will. But those developing worlds, as those children get fed, get educated, they're going to then start entering into a place where they're relying on IT systems to provide transportation, energy, things like that, because they've kind of worked their way up the food chain a little bit, and they are going to rely now abstractly that those systems are secure. Right? The SCADA systems that control it, all the PCs that run their nation state, whatever that happens to be. And who's responsible for the security of that in the long term?
Blah, blah.
Yeah.
Moderating.
All right, here's where we disagree.
Just ask the question.
I want to clarify, because Bruce did sort of get the context wrong about the Shmoo discussion. It sort of was a little bit like, and you'll have to do the details on this. Bruce had this great idea for putting together this security sort of camp thing that addressed hard issues and said, as a community, we can address some of these hard issues. What are your thoughts? And I said, I made the very wise observation that there are kids starving in Africa, which is entirely relevant at the time to me. And basically it came across the wrong way, and that's what started this discussion, spurned this discussion. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to change Webster's.
It will never be right.
Okay. That doesn't stop others from screwing up stuff, but anyway.
I'll stop them.
So the reason that we sort of got into a heated discussion is because I was contextually incorrect. I was wrong in saying that. Because the bottom line is, if it wasn't for the fact that, I can live in this country, and I can live in relative security, and I can make an income in this environment, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to do anything else. And if this country didn't have security wrapped around infrastructure and we just let it all go to crap, I wouldn't be around to help anybody. So I sort of agree that we're out looking at this from opposite sides, but at the same time, I couldn't do some of the things that I particularly am drawn to if it wasn't for the security systems that, you guys and everybody else are helping to secure. Does that make sense? Okay, next slide.
Sure. I do want to bring up, talking about things that we can do now. There's currently an issue that probably, how many people here do any type of forensics? Okay, how many of those people, keep your hands up. How many of you are certified private investigators? Oh, a whole bunch of hands went down. Gee, how about that? You don't get to do forensics anymore depending on what state you live in. And it's a felony if you do. I live in Texas. I can no longer do forensics, even for free, to help somebody out, offense or defense. Either way, I cannot do it. Why? Because I'm not a certified PI due to laws that are passed in my state. We've also got North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Michigan's on its way. New Hampshire.
California's trying, but I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, Maryland's on its way. And the whole thing there is... And we all know how forensic type stuff works. A lot of times people are receiving stuff to work on that comes in from other states. It may come in from other jurisdictions, so by the time you get it, the law is passed over here. We usually don't find out about this stuff until things are being submitted into law, either through state representation, or and I'm assuming at some point they're going to try to do this at a national level. This is one of these things that directly affects a lot of you, and it's basically means that part of you may be out of business if you do this for a living. And it's just something that has to do with one group of people trying to grab a whole bunch of power over another group of people by saying, please come in and get involved and pass these laws so that everyone has to be PIs and join our organization and pay fees and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I think to expand on that really fast. So what can you do means you can call your legislators, you can call your state representatives, you can call your congressmen. Yeah, look up new laws. Find Law is still one of the greatest resources. And okay, Thompson or whatever the hell it's called online.
Can we spam the senators?
Yeah, we can spam the senators. Yeah, of course. No, that's not because then they won't listen. But like, what can you do? Like, let's say like really square center right here and now. What can you do? What can you go home after? Well, hang on. Let me just.
That's topic 4. That's topic 4. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Well, I thought, what's the greater good?
No, because then topic 4 is what are the specific things we can do.
Okay.
No. There's got to be a method to the madness. I don't want to. I'm sorry, Hackajar. I don't mean to. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing here. Whoa! Holy crap! Jeez. There, I typed something. I'm a consultant.
I'm the monitor. You're going to have to listen to what I have to say. Come on, you guys calm down.
Oh, he put his glasses on. I'm an asshat, but I'm the asshat with Mike.
Out to my moderation.
Do you need to do squats?
No, we're in the center of political power here in D.C., and you're wondering what you can do. Well, play the same damn game they do, which is, have a lobby. Get all these people.
And if we want to say what are the greater goods security related, Google has a lobby now that they've been really pushing. What was that from the back? Well, no, yeah, they are not evil.
By definition, if you define yourself as not evil, you're not evil.
Well,
I'm
I'd
not
say
evil.
on that particular thing, we'll have the forensiclicensing.com. That's one place. It's going to be on the last slide, but I think you can probably figure it out. There's not much there on this right now, but it will be within a week.
One thing I should mention is not just forensics. Anybody who does any digital investigations at all, including security professionals, anybody who collects digital evidence, and if you cross state boundaries like South Carolina and stuff, they say they're going to go after and charge you with a felony, even if it's just over the line.
I want to work that case.
Hold on. Simple. I got to call bullshit. What the hell does greater good have to do with requiring people to be a private investigator? That may be nice for us who do forensics, but why does it matter for the greater good?
Well, the whole idea of having trials that are going to be fair, to make sure that either the person being prosecuted or whatever is going to get a fair trial, you want to make sure they get the most bestest. Where was I going with that? They want to get the best
Effective.
They want to,
The most effective
they want
counsel.
to be totally spurned. They want to be the spurningness of the.
Spurningness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, see, when he brought this subject up, I basically looked at it as this is an example of keeping the good guys down.
Yep.
I mean, we have folks in this room that do forensics. Fine, that's what, 1%. I don't know what it was. It was very few, relatively. But when push comes to shove, when the Fed comes to your door because you're tangled up in something that really wasn't you, this thing will come knocking. And what's going to happen is you're going to have some PI that was already a PI that's now certified to do forensics running your case. I just think it's an example of keeping the good guys down unnecessarily, and it could bite us even if we're.
Yeah. Do you want to have someone that is used to doing very, very serious forensics and understands our issues in there, either helping prosecute someone that needs to be prosecuting or helping defend someone that needs to be defended? Or do you want some guy that just knows how to run case, who's used to taking pictures of cheating wives and husbands?
Well, the bottom line here, the bottom line here is that like I did 3 years with the Nevada Cybercrimes Task Force, and they called us vigilantes when we came to them and said, we have a greater good idea for you. We found a way to find pedophiles on MySpace. And they said, great, you're a vigilante, go away. Even working in that community and actually being a private person working without a badge, they kicked me out. So how do we change the perception?
Spurn good? Oh, whatever.
Nomad, you said you want to get the best, you want to be the best presenter of evidence in a case, right? You want to, if you're doing forensics, you want to do your job to the best of your ability, right?
Well, I'm just saying that if I'm either a prosecutor and I want to make sure that this guy's going to go to jail, then because they deserve to go to jail, and I want to make sure I've got the best forensics on my side to go do it. And same thing for defense. The person deserves a fair trial.
But part of that is training in evidence, controls of the evidence, and being certified in, yes, you can do proper evidence, custodial.
There's no officially sanctioned thing like a CISSP for evidence gathering. We need to have that first.
Oh. Get stabby.
Yeah, PI is 2 years of training plus an apprenticeship and everything. In
I
most
call red
states.
herring, red herring, red herring. All right. Whew, God, that goes good.
I love when he does stuff like
All
that.
right. All right. I want to get back on track because I like structure. Again, a consultant. Really? You should see my house. I have all the cups labeled. So when we went through and had a discussion, what has the hacker community accomplished? What good things? We came up with basically 4 high-level items, right? This oversight, improvement in technology, resource of public awareness, and kind of understanding this using of technology and civil liberties and help holding people accountable and understand that. So, I mean, it's maybe not the perfect taxonomy, but it's a taxonomy to think about, right? I mean, and again, these are specifically what the specific hacker community can help accomplish. This isn't broad IT or whatever. And so, again, to Johnny's point, I'm seriously not trying to say anything bad about you, Johnny. I know you want to stab me with that pen as you're playing with it. But, I mean, a lot of your focus seems to be on kind of human needs issues, right? I mean, making sure people have food, education, and things that we feel are kind of important for everyone on the planet to have.
Right. I mean, that's what I've felt myself personally drawn to, and it was as much real to me as being drawn into hacking was to see those two things come together, where I can take a specific skill that I've gained over years and years and apply it in a way that has maximum effectiveness. And when that happens to somebody, they run with it.
Right.
And so that's specifically what happened to me.
And that's
part of that's being a human being.
And that's exactly right. It's part of what makes us human beings.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that as a community, we need to have some self-awareness of what we want to try to get done. And I think that if we start to have some kind of framework like this, and I'm not saying this is right or correct or anything, although simple would have you believe that I'm an egomaniac, and I am telling you it's right and correct. I think that we need to think about, do we have a social responsibility to do these four things? You know, is this really in the mandate of being a hacker? As much as the playing with the technology, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. And here comes the comic guy.
Exactly. I think it's the most interesting thing. I mean, obviously everybody's idea of interesting is different, but I mean, God, all this stuff is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, why wouldn't you want to just jump right in and get into that big, huge mess and cause some trouble? I mean, hack the system. Embrace it and go out and beat at people. You know, that's for the next topic. I'm not going to jump ahead. You want to? We're segueing.
Aside from the mandate of being a hacker, I'm not mandate of being a human being.
Right, it's human being mandate.
We're not inherently good. We don't put gun owners that have to be good people, but they have to take an amendment. We don't. Oh, yes, you do.
I'll tell gun owners they have to be good people.
You don't have to do those four things for all sorts of reasons. Doing those four things is good for all of us. We benefit individually from having oversight over corporations and government. We benefit personally from all of it.
He's pointing out that doing all this stuff is not altruism necessarily. It's good for us too. It's good for you individually. If you go out and work on any one of these issues or any other issue you can think of, odds are if it's good for other people, it's going to be good for you too.
He mentioned here on the list of helping to fight some of the major issues in crime and state death, child pornography, Russian mafiosos stealing money, Nigerian scammers. Is that part of the mandate?
Is that on the next slide?
No, it's not on the next slide. Thanks, so.
Actually, that's kind of not really covered. Because, like, for example, you're talking about, like, Estonia.
You have a microphone, Hackajara. Use it. Use the microphone.
Oh.
Okay, good.
So you're talking about, like, Estonia, like, we had that, like, flare-up, right? And then it came out, like, what, 2-3 weeks ago that it was one guy that, like, caused all this havoc and everything like that. And a conversation I had in private yesterday with Johnny was, well, it turned out that this guy, to him, he said, you know, like, how can we use hacking for the greater good? He was really passionate about a statue, and, you know, to us, a statue is a statue unless it has some, you know, sentimental meaning. And it had a lot to him. And by merely moving it from one part of the city to another, he was just so enraged that he decided to take down the entire Estonia federal electronic government. And that was a big crutch. But to him, like to the rest of us, we're like, you know what? This is ridiculous. You shouldn't be doing this. But to him, that was his greater good. So is he really at fault? I mean, how do you answer that question? Well, okay, so it's black and white for you, but I mean, if somebody came and said, you know what, from now on, you know, all American flags will be flown at a quarterstaff, and that's it. I mean, how you would revolt. You'd put them at full staff. You know, you'd get bigger flags. You know, you would start like wrapping yourself in them and running around town because that's what you're passionate about. That's your symbol of your freedom. So to him, that statue was his symbol of his freedom. So was he really in the wrong? I mean, I'm being devil's advocate. I'm not like saying that what he did was right, but I'm trying to propose that.
All right. Sir.
Was a Russian communist invader statue. It was not Estonian freedom. It was for Russian occupation before.
You cannot look at the actual content of what it was because we look at our American flag as freedom, and
you have a microphone.
We look at our American flag as freedom. But other people look at our American flag as a war flag that we fly over other countries to attack them. So from their perspective, we're in the wrong for loving our flag so much.
That's going to get dangerous here real quick in D.C. And we only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to derail this conversation before it derails us.
Can I take 20 seconds of that? I know, he's the moderator. He's the moderator. I just want to say that one of the things that drew me to the community was the way that we work together. The way that, and not everyone's like this, but what drew me to the community was that I could go into an IRC channel and I could get help if I wasn't an asshat. And that's inspirational, even though it's a small thing, but it's a glimpse of what we can do for greater goods, whether that's a large thing or a small thing. So I just wanted to mention that.
No, and I appreciate that. I think, to the one point earlier, I think that specific instantiations of, be it the statue in Estonia or pedophilia or whatever, I think by and large you can look at something like this and say we could help have oversight over the government, prevent these things from happening, create better technology so they can't take it down even when they try, et cetera, et cetera. And again, all I'm trying to do with this panel, and sorry for taking it off the rails here for a second, but is to get everyone to start thinking about what is it that I can do or we can do as a group in order to actually make a difference with what's important to us. And if what's important to you is the American flag or a communist statue or whatever, or porn. Yeah, let's just take it down to a base level. Porn. What? Dan who? No. First, I can't see Dan. Secondly, this guy was in front of him first, and he's pretty adamant. So, sir in the front.
So what we bring is that we make people value what they wouldn't if we weren't here. Security, privacy, all those things that we have now are because we're here. When we push that envelope, when you look at banking could have been so much worse if FDIC didn't step up and say, we're going to make laws that say that you have to protect people's information, keep it safe, make sure that the numbers add up. I mean, where would our banking be today if we didn't have any of that? People would be throwing money around and not keeping track of anything. And now hospitals are finally stepping up doing the same thing. HIPAA came out. Hospitals didn't react at all. They finally came out and did an assessment down in Georgia, wherever, and hospitals are starting to react. And, I mean, I do numbers on their assessments. I go into hospitals, and I can tell you that the majority of them is gone.
I think, I don't know how many of you heard all of that, but I think that's actually a really great point, and I don't know that I've thought of it this way, but making people care about things they had no idea existed, but really affect their lives, and I think that's actually something that hackers can be play a really important role in. Like I mentioned earlier, the Sony rootkit, and I'm sure there's 1,000 more, and he just mentioned some, but making people aware that there are big, huge problems that can really fuck up their lives, and they just have no idea that it's even out there. And so maybe even just taking on that as your greater good, as educating people. I mean, I don't know if there's a site like this. Maybe there is, and I'm just not aware of it. But for instance, in the sciences, there's a website that a number of biologists run called the Panda's Thumb, which is sort of a group blog, and it's there as a response to people trying to promote creationism. So it's a huge, wonderfully detailed fact that you can just point someone to and say, go look here, go to Panda's Thumb. That question, that argument has been addressed. And it might be interesting for some people to take that on as a kind of, a hacker peer-reviewed resource that you can point people and say, look, these are problems that you're probably not even aware of, or these are issues, or this is what hackers do. These are good things that hackers are doing. I mean, if some people got together and put that, up, I think you could get a lot of benefit for a little bit of work out of it.
I want to jump in here on that, 'cause just specifically addressing this slide and just kind of the mood of the room right now, because there are a few people that seem kind of they got their ire has been raised over we brought up issues purposely. I have at least brought up issues that would be hot buttons where there'd be people yelling on both sides. All right, now here's the thing: the way you feel about that stuff, some of you are thinking, yeah, they're up there talking about this stuff. I feel good that we're doing something as a community. Don't let that feeling go away when you leave the room, okay? That is the #1 problem, I think, with all of this, is that everyone gets in here and they're saying, yeah, we're kick-ass, we can do all kinds of cool shit. Yeah, we can. Keep that feeling going when you leave here. And you don't have to do a lot, okay? I know some of you are thinking, oh, geez, I got to run an entire website and manage all this stuff. No, just we try to form we do the open source way, right? We're just going to open source all this stuff. We try to do it that way. Just keep that in mind as we go through with these issues, saying, okay, here's a little spot where we can go. If you don't agree with these people on this website, you know, there's people in here that did not agree, then come and participate, because debate is going to lead to better information for everybody.
I just want to encourage people to do something. You know, one of the things that we're looking at with Hackers for Charity is I don't care if you have altruistic feelings. I don't care if you necessarily care about kids in Africa. I don't care if you care about charity. If you come to Hackers for Charity, you can get a job. You can get a resume. You can get industry-leading experts vouching for you on your resume, and you can get LinkedIn connections. If that's the only reason you come, that's fine. Just come. Volunteer a little bit of your time or your skill. It doesn't matter necessarily what your motives are, but it matters that you get involved, whether it's big picture, small picture. And the same with the Hacker Foundation. I mean, Hacker Foundation is sort of, you know, we've partnered with them in the past. They're working on these bigger issues, whether it's things like, you know, the open source voting machines. Hacker Foundation is looking at these bigger issues, wrapping 501c3 tax shelters around things like Metasploit. So that's one outlet. We're more on the charity side, but if this is gnawing at you, don't just sit there in the chair, because, you know, the folks up on the stage aren't necessarily going to be doing that. They're going to be getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same thing.
And like, if I were to give you like a really short but just thought-provoking laundry list, think about any school in America. Think about any, I don't know how much, think about any nonprofit. Think about soup kitchens. They have computers. They have accounting. But when you think about, do they have antivirus? You know, they don't even have that. Well, let's talk about the baseline stuff. What can you do? Just show up and say, I know computer security like nobody's business, and I'll volunteer my time. You know, companies like McAfee and Symantec, you fill out these applications and you go through this form process, and they'll give you like 1,000 free site licenses because you're a nonprofit. They get to write it off on their taxes. The nonprofit has now a baseline of security, and you get to walk away and say, you know what, they're a little bit better. And we can all look and say, well, you know what, there's less computers that are getting popped and getting botnets on them on the internet. Think about China for a second here. When China started really connecting in with everybody, we first thought, wow, all these SQL Slammer and Code Red and all that, that's the Chinese government going crazy. No, at the end of the day, after the research was done, it was, there's just a lot of unpatched Windows machines in China that just keep on getting popped, and they're on really fast networks. And
I want to tag something you just said, which is open your eyes. You know, as you're going through your daily life, he's mentioning specific things like soup kitchens. What I want to bring out is just open your eyes in your daily life, and you'll find things that you can probably do if you just open your eyes and look around, if that's something you're interested in. Shameless book plug, opening your eyes and just looking around, seeing things. All right.
Throw balls at him now. All right, on that note.
But now that you've thrown the balls, every single penny. Wow, I just said that, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay. Every single penny of this book, all the profits from this book are going back to the charity. They're going to Hackers for Charity. Now, that's the sort of thing, you know, I happen to write a lot of books. Some of them are good.
Well, let me know when that happens.
I didn't use spurned in any of them. But this is my daily life. This is something that comes along in my daily life. If I feel passionate about something, it's on me to put some legs to that. So that's one way to do this. You buy this book, you're feeding an African child, literally. So just open your eyes and look around.
One closing
see
comment
ways
from
that you can help.
Hackajar.
The final thought that I have is, if you're here, you probably have some sort of income to get here and be able to afford to be here. If you are barely here, you know, you have a lot of free time on your hands because you're not working much. So, so you're one or the other. You either have time or you have money. You know, and that's the bottom line. If you don't have any time, you got some extra money.
There's a lot of comments here, and I apologize. We have
so
to.
I'll just leave it with that. You know, donate your time, donate your money. One of the two.
No. I got to wrap this up. I'm really sorry, but this was a good. Did you guys? Was this useful? Interesting? All right. I think we had a good call to arms here to end it. And in all seriousness, please get involved. Do what you can, and that's about it. We're going to take a 5-minute breather. Feel free to get up, go to the lobby, grab some popcorn, and we're going to do the closing ceremony. Oh, there's no popcorn? I guess you're out of luck.
Some of the charities and stuff like that, they have a nonprofit technology network. Yep. Through all they have the area list, like DC nonprofit. Yep. The thing is, there's not a lot of security people on there, and I've actually volunteered when people post security questions, actually posting responses to them and working through some issues. That's another